today we're joined by Vaughan Barnes. She is the founder and owner of Pinnacle Properties, the real estate professionals in Brisbane, where everything they touch turns to sold. Vaughan, welcome. Thank you very much for spending your time with me today. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me, Leona. This is really a privilege and an honour. Pinnacle Properties turned 5 this year. It's a company that my husband and I started because we really wanted to help people. And when real estate agents say they care, we really do. We actually will go in and we style the houses, we prep them, we make them look beautiful. One of my passions is helping the relocators from interstate and they have no idea of, real estate, and working with people like yourself, but more importantly, also presenting properties so that they know that they're getting a really good valued property because it's presented so well. So Pinnacle Properties, 5 years in, team of 10, and our mission is to help everybody with their real estate needs.
Excellent. And I know you are. I know you've looked after some people for me and it's always worked out well. So pretty much a year ago, obviously everything changed around the world. And a lot of people predicted that we were going to have a crash here in Australia. As we know, that didn't really pan out that way. I just wondered how the last 12 months has been in your real estate world.
Well, it's interesting. 2020 was a tough year. How did COVID affect us? Well, as a real estate agent who sells real estate, we were prevented from doing opens, and the guidelines for presenting a property was very different. So we adapted, and one of the things that we adapted for really beautifully was something called a virtual tour. We used to use it sporadically, but now we use it all the time, so people can walk through the property. What we're noticing is that it's very, very IT focused now, selling a house. So it's very much on the internet. So, we've noticed that people interstate are putting offers on houses that they've never seen physically, but they've seen them virtually. Through COVID, it was tough. Stock didn't come on the market, stock didn't go off the market. So it was very different. But towards the end of last year, it went crazy, and it's still continuing to be crazy. Brisbane is just such a beautiful city, and it's still an affordable city, and the properties are going like crazy. So we are selling properties at the first open or even before the first open, and the vendors are getting what they want plus some. So it's a really good time to look at real estate in Brisbane, and we're doing great.
That's really good. Yeah, I've heard it's been definitely tough for us trying to find properties for people. The stock is moving extremely fast. So we're obviously relocating people from abroad and interstate. And I was just wondering, what do you think a new buyer in the Queensland market needs to be aware of if they're buying a house here? Is there anything that's different?
Well, number one, they need you. And number two, they really need to know the values of the properties. So they need to do the research and their due diligence. So they can't go into a property and think, oh, it's nice, I'll offer $650,000 when really it's $1 million. So they need to know what the value is. The other thing that they need to be really organised, they really need to have their finance organised and a building and pest, because it's not just the price that'll buy a property, it's the conditions. So what we're noticing is the people that are buying the properties are not necessarily the highest bidder or the highest offer, it's usually the conditions. For an example, a house that we put on the market last Saturday, we had 2 amazing offers. One was very small conditions and one was higher offer, but longer conditions. So we actually took the slightly smaller offer because the conditions were great. So if you can do your finance in 7 or 14 days, that's fantastic. 21 to 28 days might be too long. Building and pest, 5 to 7 days. So make sure your conditions when you purchase, you've got everything organised so you know, A, you can afford the property, and B, you can meet the conditions that you want to put on a contract. Because if you put extreme long conditions, you will not buy the property. It's too much competition. The average offers at the moment is, by the end of the first open, we're getting at least 3 to 5 offers. We launched a house a week and a half ago. We had 27 offers in 2 days.
Wow.
So it is crazy. We launched a house in Ipswich this weekend, and there was over 100 people at the first open. So we're getting big volumes of people that are really excited to be out, because it's almost like they've come out of COVID, we're ready to buy again, but there's not a lot of stock. So it is very fierce, it's competitive, but for a seller, it's very exciting.
Yes, yeah, it's a good time. And I think that being able to move fast is really key, because especially like in my experience coming from the UK, this selling process can take a long time. There's normally multiple people involved in a chain, and there are those long settlement periods. So to have 7 or 14 days is quite daunting, but a little bit alien as well.
Yeah, I think also even people from interstate. But the great thing about Queensland is we don't honour a gazumping rule. So if somebody puts an offer and a contract is signed, it's done. In other states, what happens is even just before settlement, if you get a better offer, you can actually take that, and the original buyer may lose the purchase price. So Queensland's a really kind state for buyers, but you do need to know, your due diligence. And you also need to understand legislation a little bit. So if you're buying a property with a tenant and the tenant's on a lease, the tenant has a right to stay until the end of the lease. Also do your facts. Did the property flood? Is it in a growth suburb? Where is the noise of the property? There's a lot of things you need to do before you turn up, and then, put an offer in and accept, and then you realise it's not exactly what you want. So you need to really know the suburb, the area, and the property.
Yes. Yeah, I think we have a similar rule in Scotland. You can't gazump in Scotland, but you can in England. Last I knew anyway, I think so. It's definitely safer, but I guess you've got to be really firm. You don't want to have to try and pull out of that contract at the last minute either.
And I think a lot of people are not aware of what a multiple offer scenario is. In Queensland, nearly every house is multiple offer at the moment. So the sellers have two options. So they can look at all the offers and take one, or we can go back to all the potential buyers and send them a contract and ask them to put their best offer in. Then the seller can only negotiate with one buyer. They can't play a buyer against each other. That's illegal and it's not appropriate. So, when we say to the buyers, put your best offer on a contract, that's your last bite. So, for an example, the property I mentioned before, and we had so many offers, people came back 2 or 3 days later and said, we can lift our offer. Well, we've already chosen the contract. We can't come back. So my wisdom for people buying in Brisbane in the next 6 to 12 months is put your best offer on a letter of offer and ask if you can put it on a contract.
Right. Okay. That's good advice. And is there a percentage at the moment, say a property is advertised at a certain price, is there a percentage that people are offering over or under around that price?
It depends on the price point. So what we're noticing is the baby buyers. So the baby buyers are anywhere from 400,000 to 600,000. They are extreme multiple offers. So, and what we're noticing is we set a goal, of course, a targeted sale price. We're noticing we're ending up 5 to 10% above that every time. Between 600 and 800, as the price gets higher, the buyers are not as high numbers, but it's still happening. We put a property on the market in Carina and we had 17 offers on it and they wanted 1.2. And it was a struggle to get it, but we got it and we got 1.217280, the buyer's birthday. And, but the sellers, if they hold firm, they'll get exactly what they want because the market is crazy. And it is crazy, but it's in such a positive way. Yes. But when you go buy a property, you need to know. And my words of wisdom to every buyer would be set your limit and be satisfied if you don't get it and don't go over your limit. Because sometimes you can say, I'll pay that, but the bank won't lend you the money. So you've got to actually be aware of what you can actually afford.
And what that house is going to be valued at by the bank when they come out.
Yeah. We had a house that went under contract and the bank valued it at 50,000 less than contract price. However, the blessings of it. Parents gave them the money to still buy the house, so they still got the house, but it's still, valuations are hard. They are not as easy as you think.
Yes, yeah, the banks are probably very careful.
Conservative is a good word.
Yeah.
Yes.
What sort of costs are associated with buying a house here? Are you able to run us through some of that?
Yeah. So I always say, first thing, before you even get out of your car or look on the internet, number one is you need to know what you can afford. So step one, broker. You need a really good broker or a really good bank. That's really important. It doesn't hurt to shop around and I always say, start an Excel spreadsheet or start a book and look at what everybody's offering. What is their interest rates? What is that? Second thing is, when you look at a loan, look at what deposit you need. Some banks will ask for 5%, some will ask for 10%, some will ask for 20%. Depending in Brisbane, some suburbs may ask for a high deposit. Many years ago when it was a tough market, some suburbs were 30% or more. It's a lot lighter today, but you need to check what deposit you have, number one. Number two is when you're going to look at properties, before you sign an offer form or contract, you should have selected a solicitor. A solicitor can look over every contract offer before you sign it, but you need a solicitor that can move quickly. You don't want a solicitor who you send a contract to and they're going to get back to you in 5 days, because the house will be gone in 5 days. So it's really important that you know somebody that's in your court to support you. And the solicitor's fees will charge anywhere from $800 to $1,300 to $1,500 for a purchase of a property in Brisbane. It depends. There's usually a standard fee, but there's extra searches you can do, and you choose to do the searches, and there's a fee for each search. So that's your choice as a buyer. Third thing, you need an excellent building and pest gentleman or gentle lady, but somebody who will look the property. You know, in my experience, and when I work as a buyer's agent, I always use certain inspectors because they're licensed builders and they have an understanding of the termites. Queensland, we have termites, we do. So what does that mean to a buyer? So you need to understand that termites in the garden are not the same termites that are in the house, and you need somebody who understands it. So a good building and pest inspector will charge you anywhere from $450 to $550. But it's worth your weight in gold. There's nothing worse than buying a house that looks beautiful, but it's just the icing, and the skeleton can be really bad. So building pests, that's worth its weight in gold. And a lot of real estate agents will do their own. As a buyer, it's your willingness to accept that. But I always say, get somebody you trust to look at the property, because this is going to be one of your biggest investments in your life. Invest well and get a good inspection. So that's about it that I think you do. There's another really cool product that's free for everybody. It's and you can do flood maps. So flood maps in Brisbane. There's a lot of free programs that you can actually search on and look at the property and what's happening with the property. So they're free, but seriously, your real costs are building pest and a good lawyer. That is it.
Yes. Yeah, I think the buildings and pests is definitely key. I just bought a house that was built in 1870, and luckily the skeleton is still good. So you don't want to be buying something that's going to fall over, especially when the house is on stilts here. Yeah,
and we're that's how we call them Queenslanders, and it's important that when you look at a house, people think, oh, it's got really pretty tiles, but the tiles can always be replaced. It's the skeleton, it's the inner structure of the house, right down to your trusses in your roof. It's really trusses in your roof. It's really, you need somebody who's going to be emotionally committed to getting you the best report. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you're fantastic at selling houses, but you also operate as a buyer's agent. Would you recommend why should somebody use a buyer's agent when they're buying a house?
Well, buyer's agent, I think it's really interesting when I work for a lot of people, local, interstate and international, because number one is it is absolute trust. And appointing a real estate agent, I always say, is they've got to be part of your team. And when you're buying a property, I'll give you an example. We have a gorgeous gentleman who's in Japan at the moment. He wanted a family home, so he can't be here. So we were able to procure him a house that is gorgeous. But his brief is really was very low, and it fitted everything. But I'm really blunt. I wouldn't buy a property that I wouldn't buy for a client that I wouldn't buy myself. So it's got to be really beautiful, or it's got to be potential. It's got to hit that brief. The great thing is, as real estate agents, we also see what other people don't see. For an example, I went and had a look at a house for a client, and the selling real estate agent said, that the house was legal height. It was not legal height. And when they say certain things, you can say, well, that's not actually true. So a buyer's agent will often 99.9% save a potential buyer purchasing a problem. So a buyer's agent is worth their fee. Several things a buyer's agent can do is also, a buyer's agent will often get properties that are not listed on the market. So they get a first bite of property. Second thing is, a buyer's agent can value the property and allow you to buy intelligently. Third thing, a buyer's agent will allow you to buy in a good area that has potential. And a buyer's agent also does a lot more work. And a buyer's agent is not emotional. So they're going to buy the best property for the client that will suit their needs. A buyer's agent rarely buys a house because it's got pretty tiles. So a buyer's agent is the best investment in purchasing a property ever, because you'll often save more money by including a buyer's agent, because they'll buy intelligently, not emotionally, and they know a buyer's agent usually can see through the tricks of the trade, especially when they wallpaper over a window and there's a window there. A buyer's agent will always see it. But I just think it's like having insurance on your car. Why would you not drive a car without insurance? The insurance is the buyer's agent. It's a wise decision. So for me, anybody who looks at buying a house, I think should always have a buyer's agent if they can, because they'll usually save money. The buyer's agent also does all the negotiation, looks after the property from the date of contract to the settlement. It's like when you're doing a massive renovation, you can do it yourself, or you hire a builder that will look after everything. It depends on what you want.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, once you've got that budget, you're not going to emotionally want to go over that either.
So I think it's a buyer's agent. Also, if people are busy, Leona, they don't want to spend every Saturday troweling through houses, getting disappointed because they don't get the house. And then a buyer's agent has more credibility in helping people buy property as well. I think
the disappointment's a huge thing at the moment as well, because of that level of competition. I've heard so many people recently say they're just over it, like they're fed up missing out on things, and they've spent so many Saturdays going to view places, dragging the family with them, and then they miss out because there's 25 people applying for the same property. So
correct. And my heart goes out because I see them every Saturday, carrying children. And especially the ones in the afternoon, they've been to 8 already and they're tired. And it's dog eat dog, because, it's tough out there. It's very tough at the moment, and it's a very good market. And I think Brisbane is only going to get better. People think there's a crash coming that you mentioned before. I do not believe that. And I think we're just going to keep growing and growing.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think so far it's been pretty good, hasn't it? So you obviously do sales and buy an agent. If people are watching this and they'd like to get in contact with you, what is the best way for them to find you, Vaughn?
Well, obviously via our website, which is www.pinnacleproperties.com.au, Von Barnes, obviously, and all our details are on the website. So I think that's the best way. And, the other thing is there's a new program facility in realestate.com. You can click on any of our listings and that sends us a direct link to the agent. So that's a really another way. But of course, Leona, I would be honoured to work with you every day. So, but, I think real estate is an exciting thing to be involved with, and it's a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much, Bon. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and speak to me about this.
It's an honour. Big hugs to you. Talk soon.